Scientists now know how to make a frog immortal. All you have to do is remove their vocal cords because now they can't croak. What's going on, YouTube? Today we have the PTS patch notes and we are going to break down all the little nitty-gritty changes. There's tons of new ways to earn rewards. We have an actual example of the Golden Curiosity system, which is the thing that I was most curious about. We know how MMR is going to work. We know how the Battlegrounds rewards are going to work. We know what new furnishing plans that we're going to receive. So I wanted to break that down and more in today's video. We're going to try to keep this nice and consolidated because there's a lot to talk about. So if there's any questions or anything, put them in the comments below. There'll also be chapters. You'll be able to skip around if you're only interested in certain things. But let's jump into it. And as we jump into the first topic here, I just want to also note the PTS will be linked below. We're just going to skip over some of the stuff that likely will change, be tweaked. For example, they're making all sorts of adjustments to the tutorial, teaching new mechanics and stuff. But I didn't want to jump into all that because it's actually quite extensive. They're going to teach new mechanics like stealth, skill points, all sorts of other things, but I wanted to break down the key highlights, and that starts with the Battlegrounds. There's a lot of changes with Battlegrounds. Obviously, if you've been living under a rock, there's now two types of Battlegrounds. You have a 4v4 and an 8v8. It's relatively straightforward, and it is only the Pit Demons versus the Fire Drakes. So from that perspective, all maps now will be oriented towards this 4v4 size or this 8v8, and there's all new maps, 7 brand new maps for these game modes, so none of the reoccurring maps that you will see. I also wanted to note too that these queues support solo, duo, trio, or full, which is 4 people, group participation. So if you want to queue for 8v8, you're going to have to essentially queue with maximum of 4 people. You're not going to be able to queue with all 8, which is probably a net positive, because if you could queue with all 8 of your friends, that could become very chaotic. But there's an important distinction here that they don't mention yet that I'm going to mention now, is that 4v4 is competitive. So 4v4 is the competitive game mode. 8v8 is more of the lackadaisical. You queue in, you get your daily rewards, you have a little bit of fun, you go do something else. And so the 8v8 queue is going to have all the game modes: Capture the Relic, Team Deathmatch, Domination, Chaos Ball, and Crazy King. They've changed Chaos Ball because they were doing those weekends where they were giving bonus AP, seeing how many people were interested in certain game modes, and Chaos Ball, I think, fell a little bit short. So now, when you pick up the Chaos Ball, you're either transformed into a Vampire Lord or Werewolf Behemoth, which is just cool. You take those skills with you, and adds a little razzle-dazzle to what kind of was a pretty mundane, boring game mode that really just benefited whatever team had better team composition just in the random queue. The 8v8s will also have power-ups. This includes increased damage, super speed, increased damage mitigation, and one-time ultimate burst. Important to know that when you actually activate one of these, you actually give the bonus to everybody in an area around you. So if you activate the ultimate one and you're around 4 enemies, you've just given 4 enemies the ultimate as well as yourself. But that's where the 8v8 is. And it's important to note as well that the 8v8 mode does not have rounds, does not have total amount of lives, that you're going to see here as we break down the 4v4 game mode, which does have those things. So 8v8, to summarize, is the fun, lackadaisical, jump in, get some PvP, 8v8 in, not as affected, by things like skill-based matchmaking. You don't have to stress about it as much. That takes us to the 4v4. And so for the 4v4, that's going to be your competitive team deathmatch, domination, and Crazy King. An important distinction, too, that they talk about later is that if your levels 10 through 49, you cannot do the 4v4 queue. You can only go to the 8v8 queue. So this is just CP champion point enabled characters, but notably, as always, champion points are not enabled in this game mode. So they will have additional things as well, such as rounds, lives, and spectator camera. And the rounds are best of 3 out of 5 with a 5-minute basically round each, which is really cool. I think conceptually that's a really awesome change. Some matches will have lives as displayed in the upper right-hand corner. Lives are per person, not per team, and when you run out of lives, you can no longer respawn. I believe that doesn't include soul gems, though. It's just an important distinction. And then spectator camera will only be available in matches where there's lives, and then you can spectate people who are still alive. In team deathmatch with lives, if you wipe the enemy team out, the round is over. So that's another important flavorful change, that if you completely wipe out the other team, That round is over, then you move on to the next one, and that team is closer to their best of 3 wins. And so this is also going to have changes on the leaderboards. There's going to be one main leaderboard, and it is only going to go off of the competitive game modes. So importantly, if you want to continue to build on leaderboards, you have to complete in the 4v4 game mode, and it's going to go off the previous system, which is however many medals and things you earned. That's how high up there you go on there. They also talk about tie breaking and things like that. It's basically if there's a tie, it goes down to, how many medals people's earned, how many lives they had left, etc., etc. Not as worried about stuff like that, but let's talk about the reward structure because there's a big difference between the two of them. And these are how the rewards are going to work. It's actually interesting because it used to be the opposite where you would do one battleground. If you came second or first, you got a really good reward. Now it's kind of the opposite. One win will give you a green coffer worth 1,000 alliance points, any battleground item in green quality, one soul gem, and a small chance at a battleground style page. Two just basically doubles pretty much everything, except it's just an increased chance to get a battleground style page. And the third one, your third win, will give you a purple coffer, giving you purple item quality, 3 soul gems, 3,000 alliance points, and a guaranteed battleground style page, which is interesting. In addition, all containers will contain any Battlegrounds items, a Battlemaster token, now a new item earned in Battlegrounds used in conjunction with Alliance points to purchase new collectibles at the Battleground supply merchant, which is interesting. We'll definitely have to see kind of how that gets balanced out. And they also note that styles are limited to 1 per day. So if you get lucky on your green one, then you're not going to get a guaranteed one on your purple one. And these are curated, so likely, unfortunately, they're probably untradeable. So that is a bit unfortunate. And then they break down the additional rewards that you're going to get based on if you're doing the standard 8v8 or the competitive. So winning a competitive battleground will give you 1 PvP item set in purple quality, either a new battleground exclusive set or a still current rewards of the worthy set, a battleground style item, 3 soul gems, a white transmutation geode, a guaranteed battleground style page, and a very low chance at Chef's Aquarius Lost Thesis, which is worth buku amounts of money. So we'll have to see what it means by a very low chance. I'm very curious how low that chance is. And then the standard one is a bit different. 1 PvP item in a variable quality or rewards of the worthy set. Battleground style, 1 transmute gem, white transmute geode, a chance at a battleground style, and then an extremely low chance at the Chef's Aquarius Thesis. I'm curious what a very low chance and an extremely low chance actually translates to. And then unfortunately, if you're a loser, only in the battlegrounds, you will get 1 PvP item set in a variable quality determined by performance, which is interesting. Either a new battleground exclusive set or current rewards of the worthy set, and then you get 1 soul gem. Interesting that they do that. I'm very curious how it scales. Like, what if you have a fantastic performance, but your team, is, dog water? So how are they going to actually scale all those things together? And I'm sure this is what they're tweaking in PTS quite often. Style pages awarded by Battlegrounds mailers are limited to 1 per day, but this is separated from the daily quests and other reward sources from style pages. Not 100% sure that what they're hinting at there, maybe the leaderboards or other ways that you can get it. And they say that we have increased the chances for obtaining the Chef's Aquarius Lost Thesis. However, it is still rare to occur or rare to acquire. So I don't know what rare means. For those of you who don't know, the Vardenfell drop, was elusive for years, like a half decade essentially. And then they went, oh, this is probably coded wrong. We should up the odds on getting this, and now everybody can get it. So I don't know what rare means, and I don't know if them boosting the odds is going to flood the market with them. But if you're somebody that has been selling these, maybe it's the time to get out of that market. And we also know, too, for the leaderboards rewards, you're going to have an improved structure with every leaderboard coffer containing the following. So this is if you get on the leaderboard: a new battleground set in gold quality, a battleground set piece in purple quality, 1 style that's curated. So this is not going to, you're not going to be inhibited if you had already gotten your style page. And then once you have all the gladiator pages, they will fall back into the other new battleground styles than old ones. Should you have completed the battleground style, you'll get a 10,000 sellable item, and then you get a nice purple transmutation geode. I'm curious if that's going to be a 25, a 50, Maybe they'll go buck wild, give us 100. I mean, I'm on the top 100 leaderboard, ZeniMax. You can give me some transmutes. I've earned them. Next up, we have the Imperial City revamp, which has gone through quite a bit. We're going to keep this nice and consolidated because we're definitely going to have to see a little bit how this works later. All of those key fragments and keys that were filling up your inventory, they're just going to right together and make this new thing called Imperial Fragments. And it's going to automatically convert them, and your banks, guild traders, everything's just going to automatically convert. And then enemies will also drop this new currency instead. And unlike Telvar, you don't lose this currency on death, so do not be worried about it. Another major callout is vault doors in both the Imperial City and its dungeon, Imperial City Prison, White Gull Tower, are no longer gated by keys or fragments. You can now freely enter vaults without having to worry about fragment conversions or having keys. Inside the vaults are new vendors who have replaced with chests. You can spend this new currency fragments there. These vendors may contain usual found spoils and vault chests, as well as additional item sets and collectibles. Sets are spread across 6 vaults, as well as 2 dungeons, so everyone is encouraged to make sure to hit all of those vaults, which I'm definitely interested to see. I think it's going to be very similar to the structure of these cities inside of Cyrodiil, so Bruma, Blasterus, Cropsford. You can buy all those sets for 20,000 Alliance points in the main center hub. You don't have to PvP. You're in a nice little safe zone, where you're wrapped in a little warm, fuzzy blankie. But if you dare go to places like Bruma in a war zone, you can actually save 8,000 Alliance points by going there. I suspect that that's going to be kind of similar to how this is. Some will have like the Phoenix set. Some are going to have sets like Powerful Assault, and then it's going to be kind of spread around between all the vaults there for you. And they're going to be consolidating and changing a lot of the Telvar merchants inside of the main area hub that you spawn into. They will no longer sell certain individual armor pieces. They will now sell set containers. It's not mentioned here, but I'm pretty sure these are now curated because they mentioned that in the live stream, which is absolutely crazy, by the way. It means that if you don't have your sticker book, Powerful Assault Ice Staff, you could go buy the rest of the pieces on the ESO open market, keep that ice staff open, buy it, and then if it's not a bind on open, which they didn't say that it would be, you could just sell tens and hundreds of them, when the update comes out, which is kind of nutty. But here, obviously, is why we are excited. The Telvar jewelry merchant, is now a Telvar rotating merchant, which contains a weekly good of rotating stocks, including gold PvP jewelry, mythic antiquity leads, skill styles and skill fragment styles, treasure maps, and scripts. Obviously, I'm pretty chuffed about this. I think this is great. I am curious what gold PvP jewelry means. What I would like it to mean is that the top best PvP sets are all put into this rotational vendor. So anything that's not, the top 10, 20 best in slot for PvP, they just keep on out of this bad boy. I don't think that that's how it's going to go, but it'll probably be all the Imperial City sets, all the, the sets from Cyrodiil, all the Battleground sets will be rotating. And depending on how many they offer, that could still be a great investment, because I imagine that you'll be able to resell these, which would be really cool for some opportunities. Mythic Antiquities leads, hear me out, ZeniMax. You could use Filer Ul just for PvE mythics, and then you could use this one just for PvP mythics. Just hear me out. Likely, though, it will be a rotation of all of the antiquity leads, unfortunately. So we'll always have our, breakdown of which ones are worth buying, which ones you normally do, is it a potential good time save, etc. Skill styles and skill fragments. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's just kind of one of those things that it just depends on what you like. Treasure maps are cool because treasure maps can be ridiculously valuable, so that's great, And then scripts are a bit unique because most times scripts are not worth purchasing, but maybe, depending on how cheap they are, or if some of the new ones become really annoying to get, maybe they're here right away, maybe it could be a decent-ish investment. And you can see that they've renamed the Lockbox Merchant to the Collectibles Merchant, but it pretty much still has all the old stuff. They have some new things as well, like new style pages, but conceptually it's all going to remain in place, as well as the Telvar General Merchant. And then they're saying, hey, we're removing the Key Collector, Imperial City Locksmith, Imperial City Dungeon Smith. And if you previously had the achievement, you'll get the new achievements that are associated with that. And what I'm actually pretty excited about, so this is where we start talking about the economic opportunities of this newest update. The first one obviously being what we just discussed, which is if they're going to do curated, non-bind on pickup drops, then you could definitely abuse that on the market, even if just for a little bit before other people catch on that you can do that. Because at the end of the day, powerful assault is generally used for PvE content. Most PvE people don't spend a lot of time in the Imperial City, so if they can still buy the ice staff, that's just going to be something that they want to grab. So just because of that, it's going to be good to potentially build out the sticker book. And obviously, Powerful Assault is just a good set all around. Let's talk about how the reward structure is going to look. With the reworking of Battlegrounds and Imperial City item optimizations, we've overall changed PvP sets' reward cadence. Currently, as we introduce new PvP sets, they start off in the Rewards of the Worthy. These sets then filter into Cyrodiil. As part of this update, we'll be establishing a more thorough reward cadence to fit with all the PvP game modes. So the brand new sets are going to be in the Rewards of the Worthy, which is great. If you do PvP, you're going to be getting a bunch of these. And obviously, if you do Battlegrounds competitive mode and you do some of the other modes, you're probably also going to have a really good chance to get some of these items as well. And as new sets are kind of introduced and added and updated, they're going to be filtered into basically standard Battlegrounds rewards or Imperial City Vault Door rewards. So eventually they'll be filtered out. You can kind of see here their little diagram that explains this. So if you do competitive Battlegrounds, then you get the standard Battleground sets and the Elite Gear Vendors Battleground stuff. Or if you do the just general farming of the rewards of the Worthy, you get Vault Vendors items as well as Elite Gear Vendor items. I believe that's how they're interpreting this. I'd have to see this to make it make full sense. So just bear with me. Now, this is the coolest update that essentially they didn't really talk about at all. So, Golden Pursuits is a new feature designed to give players more ways to earn in-game rewards, making its debut in Update 44. As I talk about it, I'm going to put an example on screen because somebody grabbed this screenshot and it just makes this significantly easier. So, participation in Golden Pursuits will allow you to earn special account-wide items, including in-game currencies and more. When active, a selection of activities will be available to be completed in a special menu within the group and activity finder. And as players complete golden activities, they will unlock milestone rewards along the way, which you can see, all the while working towards a special capstone rewards. These new activities won't always be available, but when they are live, a notification will appear and you'll be able to track them inside of that window. And the first one will go live after Update 44 goes live. So basically, I don't know the best way to fully describe this if you're not familiar. It almost feels like a free-to-play battle pass, like similar-ish to the one that you have in like Fallout 76 where you have to like complete stuff. But instead of earning XP, you basically it's just like complete a dungeon. Now you've moved up one, on this little bar. And then as you go through, you get different rewards. It looks like, crown crates, collectibles, mounts. It could be currencies, all sorts of good little things. And I love this. So I notoriously have said that ESO needed something like this because ESO needs a reason for you to log in and do certain things. You see this during ESO events where everybody is now farming the Undaunted Celebration event because everybody's farming it because it's the active event. But sometimes we need to encourage people outside of ESO events like, hey, maybe you want to do a battleground. Maybe you want to do a dungeon. So this is a great way to kind of filter people into different activities, kind of build up their repertoire a bit of doing different types of stuff and give them great rewards for doing so. I mean, these rewards are pretty significantly better than some of the things that you can even get from certain ESO events. So I'm very excited about this prospect in general, and I'm very excited to see the time windows that they give, during these time periods. And I'm overall just excited that we have more time-gated activities. And now mark your calendars because this is going to be great new gold methods for you. If you jump on this day one, you will earn tons of money, guaranteed. And I will make a video on it when the update comes out, but if you know this ahead of time, you can be ready to go even before my video is ready dedicated to this. So 57 new furnishing plans sourced in 5 different places will be active. This is big. So that's 25 new Dawnwood and Bosmer recipes. Those are going to drop from monsters, containers, and more in the Westweld. So that gold method where you open containers in the inn inside of the Westweld zone, you're just going to want to go there and you're going to make tons of profit. And there's going to be 5 ones exclusive to the Westweld World event. So just completing Miramore incursions is going to give you a nice access to them. 16 new alien-themed recipes can be found inside of the Westweld Gold Coast and Blackwood from bonus loot when excavating the antiquities of an intermittent or higher difficulty. I'm going to experiment when this comes out because I've always thought, what if you just intentionally fail to get the antiquity and you just keep farming on repeat? Can you just endlessly get bonus loot all the time? So I'm very curious to see like how that will go, and if that becomes a very viable gold method. It really might, just because you can do if you could fail pretty quickly. Look at me in my life. Then there'll be a new dwarven recipe can be obtained from defeating the dismantler, the dwarven colossus, world boss, and Blackreach, which is interesting. 24 new recipes can be obtained in the Battlegrounds rewards. Not sure if these will be tradable, and then 9 new furnishings will be able to be purchased from Telvar merchants. 10 new home good furnishings will be able to be purchased in the Skingrads reward shop, and then 2 new achievements will be added. So I don't know if the final ones will be tradable. I don't know if you'll be able to convert your Telvar to gold using furniture. I suspect probably not, but the Battlemaster Ribbons reward box, I could see those being tradable, but I could also see them being untradeable. We'll just have to wait to see get more information as it comes out. And for those of you who are curious about MMR, it is currently going to reset and degrade weekly, and it's going to be reset monthly. So degrading means I believe it's just going to be lowered. So let's say you have a system that increases between 1,000 and 10,000. Let's say every time you win, you gain 100. Every time you lose 100, right? So it will continually build and drop, but then let's say you get to 5,000. Like you're on a roll, you're on a rampage, you're going against other people around 5,000 elo. Well, it's gonna maybe knock off 1,000 elo every week, and then it will completely reset each month. I don't have a problem with this MMR system. I know a lot of people are very cautious about it, but I think that a lot of people are going to the hardcore PvPers are going to be more focused on the 4v4 game mode. It'll probably be faster for them. The rewards are better. The leaderboard rewards will, give them the new sets. That'll give you a bunch of new stuff. Golded out quality nonetheless too. So I think that's where you're going to find a lot of them. Plus, for the 8v8 mode, you can't even queue with all 8 people. So I think that you're going to see kind of a divide of people who are enjoying the 8v8 and the 4v4, especially because Chaos Ball and Capture the Relic don't exist in the competitive mode. So literally, they're only getting the game modes that most PvPers really enjoy. So I can see this definitely being a nice split to kind of keep the two communities of players, the hardcore dedicated Battlegrounds runners and the traditional, hey, I just enjoy Battlegrounds, it's kind of a fun little game mode. I'm going to jump in, do a couple, get some rewards, and kind of peace out. I think that will help split the community nicely. And to kind of round us off here, let's just talk about some really nice changes. Heartwood, Mundane Runes, and Waxes have had their overall drop rates increased. So it no longer costs you tons of gold to just remodel your home. If you want to add a porch to your home, you were taking out a second mortgage. You were farming fungal grotto boxes infinitely right now if you wanted to try to just even add a couple items to your home. So that's great. I also really like the added joining encounter to the rest of the dungeons. A lot of these are base game dungeons, and I think a lot of new players were joining these dungeons. They were getting kind of like left behind, and the joining in progress is going to be significantly helpful in kind of keeping them up with everybody else. So I really enjoy this change. And I do want to also note that I'm not like intentionally skipping over some of the other new stuff, like the changes to the abilities and things. But I just want to note that the last time that I did a breakdown of all of the new skills, the majority of them were tweaked in PTS. So it's better to review the final version. Like, I mean, look how many times they changed just the vampirism undeath passive in the PTS last time. They made a huge change, and then they made a slightly different change, and then they changed it again. So I want to make sure that when I do make a video breaking down the combat and gameplay changes, that it is the most up-to-date information. And we'll have a general week to know, hey, these are going to be the major combat changes. But again, if you want to read this, obviously feel free, it'll be in the description below. I do want to discuss, though, some changes to sets and just also quickly highlight, though, the new sets. But I want to note that Tarnished Nightmare, the set now has a 1.3 second delay before it deals damage in order to allow for more warning and potential counterplay. Again, this may change. There's a good chance that this gets tweaked to 1 second, 2 seconds, bajillion seconds, nerfed into the ground like Mara's Bomb, never to be seen again. Who knows? But I do want to just note that this is on the developer's radar, as well as for some reason some other sets like Stormfist. So I thought that was very interesting. And the main thing that I wanted to highlight though is, might as well just talk about the new sets. Because we're going to be getting a few, might as well break them down. And so to start, we have Tracker's Lash, which is weapon and spell, magicka, weapon and spell. When your attack is dodged, increase your weapon and spell damage by 95 for 7 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. This effect can occur every half second. I think this is a perfectly serviceable PvP set. What I like about this, though, is this is like an A tier set. It's not S tier. It's not going to be nerfed, changed crazily, more than likely. This is just a solid way to get, a bunch of weapon and spell damage on some classes, especially when you're in more overworld content. I think this is a really non-apologetic, decent PvP set. Then we have Shared Pain, which is stam, weapon and spell damage. Whenever you are dealt damage from a damage over time ability, you deal magic damage back to the attacker. This effect scales off your weapon or spell damage, and it reduces your damage taken from dots by 8%. Dots is damage over times. I don't know how good this is going to be. I think that we'll definitely need to see. I think there's definitely some weird finagling of PvP tanks that are going to try to weave something like this in. I don't necessarily know how good it's going to be, but it's definitely one that I'm curious to see how it does. And this one is just super cool. So we have Siege Master's Focused. While you are using a non-ram siege weapon, you are immune to knockbacks and disabling effects, and you reduce your damage taken by 33%, and you can see enemies through walls. This is just really cool. You'll be able to more effectively call out how many people are inside a keep. You'll be able to more accurately see kind of what's going on. This is just a really cool change overall. I'm glad that there's a set like this. It's difficult to know how good this is going to be because it does require you to wear a 5-piece set, but I could definitely see some people using this set just to almost be more siege focused, as well as just overall being more dedicated to call outs and planning, where we're going to be going, how we're going to be doing things, because they'll have more information based on the information they'll be able to see. This next one is super interesting. So basically it's critical, weapon and spell. When an enemy blocks one of your attacks, reduce the amount of damage they can block by 8% for 5 seconds, and this can stack 5 times and can occur every 0.3 seconds. So essentially, if they block for a full second, you can get 3 stacks out of that if you attack fast enough, which is interesting. I don't know how much utilization something like this is going to have. I would just have to. This is one of those sets where I feel like you have to be using it to feel how good it is. I think this could definitely potentially start countering some of the overly defensive block tanks that you see. I'm just curious if this is enough. I suspect that it's definitely a lot. So we'll have to see how this goes. But it's an interesting combination of items and ideas here, and I'm excited to see how it goes. This next one, Far Strider, gives you armor, stam, crit chance. When you deal damage with a blink, charge, leap, teleport, or pull, you decrease the critical resistance of your enemy by 40% and increase your crit resistance by an equal amount for 10 seconds. This can occur every 7 seconds. This, I think, is going to be pretty big, especially for ball groups. You're definitely going to see some people running this set. I don't think it's going to be something that you see very commonly, but you're definitely going to see groups run this because you're essentially going to give yourself crazy crit resistance, and then you're going to basically open up the enemy's ability to be critted pretty significantly. So that's interesting group utilization play here, but yeah, this is definitely an interesting idea for a set. But I think it'll be kind of cool and add some more flavor to call outs and kind of group play, which to be fair is a little bit broken right now. I hope that they do address cross healing. I didn't see any sort of addressing of it in this iteration of PTS, but I hope that we do see it as all of this testing does occur. Then we have the Heavy, the Netch Oil, which gives you stam, health, and stam. While you have crown control immunity, you are immune to snares and immobilizations. This is interesting. I think this is a really cool conceptual set. When I saw Netch's Oil, I thought it would be more siege focused like the other ones, but it makes sense because this is the battleground version of it. But I think this is a perfectly serviceable, another A minus, B plus tier set. I think you're definitely going to see some specific builds use this, but it's not like Tarnished Nightmare where you could just throw it on the majority of sets. It's not like the Seducer Mythic where you can just throw it on a whole bunch of things. This is a perfectly good PvP set that's going to be used in very specific ways. Similar to most of these, none of these scream S tier sets, but I'm very curious if any of them do to you. because to me they mostly read as B and A tier sets, which is great because I prefer when things are not released in a broken state. But that also can mean that they're buffed essentially as well too. So we'll have to wait and see if any of that occurs. But that's the new sets that are going to be added into this patch. And the final change that I'm also happy to kind of cover, ESO Plus members will now receive 10% increase to AP and Telvar Stone gains from monsters. This will not increase leaderboard AP faster, nor give you faster rewards of the worthy farming. I am absolutely happy that they made this. I did not want this to become a whole big discussion on, do you need to now pay for ESO Plus to become the Emperor? I'm glad that they took this stance of, you can get more of this resource if you want, but it's not going to actively build towards your rewards of the worthy, which you get around every 20,000 rewards boxes. It's not going to make you the Emperor faster. And I think that overall was just a great change and a great clarification, because we didn't know when they were doing their live stream, so I'm happy that that's the standard that they're taking. But everyone, I just want to thank you guys so much again for watching. What did you think about this PTS? I am the most excited about Golden Curiosities. I wish that on stream got to talk about that more, because I think if they had talked about it during the actual live stream, there would be a lot more excitement around this new mechanic. And I think that having some more time-gated rewards, giving you more reason to do new types of content that really aren't necessarily difficult, that give you tons of rewards and give you a wide range of things that you can do, it's just overall going to be fantastic for the game. And it's also activities that are generally going to reward you. For those of you who played Fallout 76, it's always usually something really annoying, like go find 5 canned dog food, and you're like, what the heck? Versus here, it's like, do a battleground, complete a dungeon, fish a fish, do something, complete a quest. Things that are much more manageable and easy to do within the Elder Scrolls Online universe without having some deep knowledge of like, well, here's where all the mutants spawn, all the canned dog food, all the wood that I need to go pick up because I need to pick up 100 wood to, rank up my battle pass. And obviously, too, the Golden Curiosity system is absolutely free as well, which is also fantastic. So that's what I'm most excited about. Tell me what you are the most excited about. And as always, if you would like to enter our 3 giveaway drawings, it's very easy. The first one is just leave a comment. Just answer that question that I asked you. Second thing is just make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. And if you want 2 additional drawings for that entry, just make sure you're following on both Twitch and Twitter. We're going to build up the credibility on the other platforms. And the third thing is just look for a hidden word on a random video throughout the month. If you're the first person to comment that hidden word, you will win. Thank you guys so much again for watching, and I'll catch you later. Bye, guys.
You better remember to like and subscribe to Jakeclips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.